Hi, I'm Margaret Lewin and welcome to Margaret Lewin Quilting. Today I'm going to share with you how I went about making all of the blossoms on this piece. I had made this piece, or one very similar to it, for a fellow YouTube person by the name of Claudia. Claudia owns Colorway Arts, and what she makes is called Cartonnage. And what it is you know those fabric covered boxes that have all those little neat compartments in it? That's Cartonnage. And it just does an absolutely fantastic job. She and I got chatting and she asked me if I would make a piece of embroidery for her upcoming free project. Oh, not it, which is a scissor holder, a thread bobbin, and then there's another piece to the project. But anyhow, it has 3 free patterns with it so that you can try cartonnage yourself. I do have one of her pieces, and my piece is actually, I purchased the tissue cover, and that's the first project that I'm going to be doing that's cartonnage. But in the meantime, I did this piece for her, and then I did another piece. The second piece is a line which represents the ground, and then different flowers coming up from that. So right now I want to share with you this piece, and then once we've done this piece, I'll be sharing the other piece with you also. Now, if you are doing a needle case, feel free to do this on one of your circles on the needle case. It would work perfectly on there. So what I've done is I've grabbed my #1 Milliners needle, and this is the thread I'm using. This is organza. Love this thread. And I'll put a link below to Claudia's page and to the notions that I'm using so that if you want to do it, you can do it yourself. So I've got my wool. You can do this in cotton also. The one I did for Claudia, I did in cotton. But this time, this is my wool practice sheet. When I'm getting ready to do something, I just mess with the stitches for a few minutes. So what I'm going to start by doing is anchoring my thread in the back. I don't very often tie knots. So what I'm going to do is just pick up a couple of threads of the wool on the back, and you can see my needle really doesn't even pop through. Once I've brought my needle through, I'm going to go across it twice. So there's once, and here's twice. And I'm just crossing over that, under that thread so that it's permanently there and it's tight. Then I'm going to bring my needle up to the front of my work. Right. And what we're doing here is making the center of the rose. I unthreaded my needle. Hang on just a sec. And see how I've come up in my threads right here? I'm going to actually turn my piece around, and I want that thread coming up at the top of my work. See, here it is. I'm going to take my needle down, and I'm going to bring it right up where that thread is coming out, or as close to it as I possibly can. Right? I'm going to hold the eye of my needle with my thumb. I'm going to pick up the trailing piece, and this is where it starts. I'm going to grab from my thumb. I'm going to put it under the back side. No, start again. I'm going to take my first finger. I'm going to put it under. All right, I'm going to take my thumb and my first finger. I'm going to put those under. See how I've put them under there? Then I'm going to bring them up, and then I'm going to turn my hand. And I want to be out of your way, which I'm not quite. See, by turning my hand, I make a cross right there. Can you see that? I'm going to take the eye of my needle, and see this loop I've made here? I'm going to put the end of my needle, not the eye, the end of my needle through that loop. All right, and then I'm going to pull it down. And I've made 1 knot. I'm going to make 5 knots for the center of my rose, I'm going to do it again. There's 2. See, I'm taking my thumb and my finger and I'm wrapping them around. There's my number 3, 4, 5. Right? Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my left thumb and I'm going to hold it over those tied knots. All right? And I'm going to pull my needle right through. Then you can see I'm here. I want to bring it down so that it lays flat. And then you can see my little knots there. So I'm going to take my needle back down at the very bottom of that. And then bring my needle back up again. I'll pull it all the way through. And then I'm going to turn. I'm going to bring my needle. I'm going to take it down right next to the first one when I came up. All right, I'm going to go down. Then I'm going to bring it up again right out here next to where I came up. Right? See? Now I'm ready to go again. Got my tail. I'm going to hold my thumb over this end because I do not want to come unthreaded. And I'm just going to start stitching again. So there's 1, 2, 3, whoops, 3, 4, 5. All right. Gonna again, now I'm gonna move my thumb up to hold my knots. I'm gonna pull my needle through. It's pulled through, it's tight. Now I'm gonna tighten it by bringing it back down. And there are my 2 centers of my bullion, or of my rows. Right? Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start making my outside petals. So I'm going to come up, let's say right around here. And this is do your own thing. However many petals you want to do, you do. It's totally up to you. I'm going to take my needle down. I want to kind of cut it into thirds. So I go like this probably. I'm going to take it down about right here. Then remember we brought it up where we first came up. Then we do it again. I'm going to hold my left thumb over the eye of the needle. This time I'm going to do 10 knots. Take it, and I'm holding the bottom of it with my pinky and my ring finger. And I'm just going to take it up and I'm going to loop it through. So now there's 1. Here comes another 1, 2. And then I'll speed up. All right, I've got all 10. See, my knots are pretty well lined up right here. I'm going to take my thumb and I'm going to put it over these knots, kind of holding it down. And don't be afraid to take your pointer finger and put it on one side and your thumb on the other. Just hold it and it will roll right through. And then there is my next one. Take it back down again. This secures it. I'm going to rotate my piece just a little bit. Now I'm going to do it again. Now, on this one, I'm going to bring it up. Okay. I've brought it up. Now I need to take it back down again. I'm going to rotate again a little bit. I like to move my fabric when I'm working. Then I'm going to cross over this first outside petal, just like, about right here. And then I'm going to go right back up again next to where I came up to begin with. Push it through. I'm going to hold it with my thumb. And then I'm going to start winding. Get So here we go. Here goes 10. And you can pull this out. Watch. I'll just pull it out. And then you just have to rethread it. So there's 1. And it does get to the point that you can do it without letting go of your thread. Now, I do want you to know I am tugging on it so that that knot is tight. I'm going to rethread. Okay, so now that I've rethreaded, I'm going to take my pointer and my thumb. I'm going to hold those again. I want to hold them straight. Pull my needle through and then pull it down towards me so that it kind of rotates around. Now, you can play with your stitches. You can adjust them any way you want. So let's say you want the knots on this one towards the outside. See how that one kind of folded into itself? I like that. So I can then, if I wanted to, I can just sit here and play with these and move them over a little bit. And then take my needle back down. And then I'm going to come up again. And when I come up, I'm actually going to come up right over here. Alright, now my last one, usually the first row of petals on the outside of the center is 3. So I'm going to do one more. I'm going to pull it out. I'm going to hold my needle and I am going to unthread it just so that I can do it faster. So we've got 1, 2, I'll rethread my needle. Again, bring my thread, hold on to the top thread right here. Pointer finger, thumb, hang on to it, pull it down, and then just pick it, pull it towards me. And then again, I can play with my knots so that they can be however I want them to be. Now there is the very start of my rows. Now, if you can see on this piece, I'll bring these together. Let me secure this so that I don't lose it because I may add to it. And how I secure it is I just go underneath my threads. Simple, simple. All right, I'm gonna just stick my needle in there so I can find it. And I think you can see the difference. The only difference between this one and these is I have just continued to do more stitches around. Now, in order to do the leaves, I did the leaves in groups of 2. So you can see here's 1, 2. And on some of my roses, I have 2 petals on, or 2 leaves on each side. And on other petals, someplace in here, I know there's a couple of them. Well, that one does have 2. That may only have 1. And that's fine. I did do all of my wraps with 10 knots. But you obviously could do bigger knots if you wanted to. If you were dealing with, or not bigger, but more knots if you wanted to. If you were dealing with a finer thread than what I am, your rows would be much smaller. I did start with 5 on the inside, 10 around it, and I would just continue to do that 10 all the way around. So isn't that just the coolest? I think it's beautiful. So again, what I'm using here is wool. It is 100% wool. I am using organza thread. Let me see if I can find my thread again. And this one is color number M36. I'll see if I can find a link to it below. I do use my Kay Buckley little embroidery scissors, and I do have a number 1 Milliners needle. So if you would like to make these, for yourself, you go right ahead. My piece is maybe 1 to about 3 inches tall. And very soon, so that's my starting piece. I'm going to put a link below to so this again is the size of the piece that I used for my colorway arts project. I'll put a link below to get to the free videos that show you how to make the scissors holder. And once I have the scissor holders back from Claudia, I'll show you what it looks like, because I can't wait to see what she's done with it. So again, this is the cast on knot. And thank you so much for joining me today. And I hope to see you back here again really soon. Thank you so much. And I will be speaking to you soon. Bye, everybody.